to Captain Dorja's Armory. This is Captain Dorja, and as you can see right now, we're going to be taking a look at the Object 704. The Object 704 is one of two Soviet Tier 9 tank destroyers. It sits in the tech tree after the ISU 152 at Tier 8 and before the Object 268 at Tier 10. So, basically the only thing about the Object 704 that makes it really, really well known is the gun, the 152 millimeter BL-10. This gun's used on the ISU 152 as well, and it's really famous. It was one of the first guns in World of Tanks that was just capable of doing absolutely insane alpha damage. We're talking way, way back in early beta when the top tier Soviet tank destroyer was actually the Tier 8 ISU, and back then it was fairly well balanced against the Tier 9 German Jagdtiger. So the Object 704 came out, and that's how things are. So the BL-10, basically the good attributes of this gun are monstrous penetration and damage, 286 penetration with standard armor piercing ammo, and 750 average damage. The trade-offs for that monstrous damage and amazing penetration are terrible accuracy, 0.39, and bad rate of fire, 3.51, and a fairly long aiming time of 2.9 seconds. The good thing about the Object 704 with regards to aiming time is it has a fairly wide arc of fire for the gun. So normally if a target is moving across your point of aim, you can complete the aiming cycle before the target exits the other side, which is good. Now, because of the rate of fire and accuracy issues, I personally find that the Object 704 is best played as a sort of mid-range fighter, and I like to use mine to the extent possible as a horizontal artillery. Now, the reason I say that is because artillery, you want to be maximizing your damage, and kills are not important unless it's, if it's like a game-changing situation, obviously, you need kills. And if the game is already won, it doesn't really matter. Just get what you can. But what you want to be doing with the BL-10 is you want to be shooting things where there is a maximum amount of damage to do to the enemy. So, like, for example, if a Tiger II drives around the corner at full health, and next to that Tiger II there's a T-29 with 200 health left, it's actually more beneficial to use the object in the BL-10 to shoot the Tiger II. Because if you shoot the T-29, he's only got 200 health left. One of your mediums can finish him off. You just wasted 550 average damage. It would be much more valuable to half the HP of that Tiger II and scare him from coming around the corner again. So I try to use my 704 to do that as much as possible. Excuse me. One thing that I have done on my tank destroyer is that you end up, it's not that uncommon to end up being, last man standing with maybe 2 or 3 teammates left, fighting outnumbered, and a lot of the time, because of the 704's poor armor, mobility is your friend. I don't sit still very often in this thing, so initially I had the kind of standard tank destroyer fit with gun rammer, binoculars, and a camo net, and I've opted to remove the binoculars in favor of improved ventilation for a couple of reasons. The improved ventilation helps with it reduces my reload time, it reduces my aiming time, it helps the gunner with their accuracy. Huge thing that it helps with is it helps with your mobility. Every little bit helps. But I kept the camo net because it's still valuable to be able to camouflage and get ambush shots when you can. I have considered removing this in favor of coated optics because, again, I don't tend to do the sneaky classic tank destroyer with the 704 that often. The mid-range fighting, it's hard to do that when you're fighting at mid-range, and the BL-10 is so inaccurate that fighting at long range is, I find that I miss a lot. The gun is very powerful, but you do still have to be able to hit weak spots on tier 10s, and it's not accurate enough to hit them at long range. And the 704 is not agile enough to fight in close range. The Achilles heel of the 704 is its poor armor and poor mobility. Now, I say poor mobility. It has a top speed of 37 kilometers per hour, and you'll reach the top speed, but it accelerates slowly and it turns very badly. So, if you get into a close quarters fight where you need to count on your mobility to save you, you might be screwed. Because, well, honestly, because when the Object 704 was first released, it was heinously overpowered, due largely in part to its ability to just reposition immediately, so they nerfed its agility under the table. Yeah. But, anyway, in the right circumstance, the 704 is incredibly powerful. I'm gonna show you a match that I played on Ruinberg, where the circumstance was good and I was able to just put this bad boy to work. So let's take a look at that now. Right, so here we are in the 704, finally in battle. Ruinberg, standard battle, and let's take her down to normal speed. You can see it's a tier 9 match. There are 4 tier 9s per team. Each team has 2 tier 9 tank destroyers, and our team has a Conqueror and an IS-8. Their team has an E-75 and a Lorraine to round out the mix. After that, it's a full tier 8 for both sides, plus an Arty. Actually, check that. We have a T-29 tier 7 heavy. So I come down here, and a lot of tank destroyers use those buildings back there to snipe and with cover, but the 704 is so low that it's hard to actually get a shot. So I'm going to go back to fixed camera to see my point of view. I move out to try and take a shot at that E-75, but that 30 comes around and he gives me his side. And that is too good of a target to pass up for 2 reasons. First, the 30 can hit me for a third of my health, and I don't want him to do that. Secondly, he's just a juicy target. The BL-10 needs a big target to shoot at. The side of a Ferdinand doesn't get much bigger than that. So I shoot the 30, do 730 damage to him. He's now down to 500 health. He does not want to come out and play. But I'm cautiously staying in this spot because I saw that the Jagdtiger was also there with the Ferdinand, and a combo shot from the Ferdinand and Jagdtiger will leave me at about 600 health if they roll average, and that's a bad spot to be in. But I don't see any activity from them, so I take the chance and I go for the T-34 kill, poke around the corner, blast the T-34, and he dies. Now right here, quickly pause, you see on the mini-map right here, the Jagdtiger and the Ferdinand, they've come around. Now the only reason why I was sitting back here all cautious is because I knew there was a Jagdtiger and a Ferdinand right here. Well, Jagdtiger and the Ferdinand just moved. The Object 704 lives and dies on its mobility, and the BL-10 needs to get in close. So they've just given me an amazing flanking opportunity. I would be absolutely pants on head retarded to not exploit. So, time for me to do one of these jobs. Go. Now, it's not all fun and games. There is a T-30 down there. If he'd got a shot into me, that would have hurt. But I take the gamble that the T-30 will be busy focusing on the Conqueror, and I was right. So, I come around, and there we go. Remember what I said about big targets? One of the few things bigger than the side of a Ferdinand is the side of a Jagdtiger. So, 771 damage to him. The M12 finishes him off. Now, this KV-5 is giving me his side. I aim at the flat side armor on his hull. I mean his turret, not his hull. Because I don't want any chance of his tracks eating the shot. Nothing drives me crazier than BL-10ing the side armor of someone and having their tracks eaten. This could have been a potentially dangerous situation. Lucky for me, the Ferdinand only hit my tracks and didn't break them, so I used the depression just to kind of throw off his aim a little bit, and I spin around and shoot him in the side, finish him off. Now I see the T-34 coming around, so I go between the wrecks. What I'm doing here is I'm using these wrecks as cover to give me a chance to turn my tank, because the 704 turns really slow. That T-34, if we were on an open street, he could probably drive around the corner and shoot me once and start backing up before I could get my gun onto him. So with all these wrecks in the way, he's going to have to stop and take careful aim, and that'll buy me the time I need to swing my gun into line. Now the other thing I'm thinking is, he might not even bother swinging his gun into line with me, because look at that juicy IS-8 right there, 291 HP left. That's what we like to call an easy kill. So that T-34, he's probably not even going to look at me. He's probably going to look at the IS-8, but I'm not going to take that chance. I'm still going to use the cover. I'm still going to, play it smart. And in the event that he does go for the IS-8, I'll have juicy side shots. So, normal speed, fixed camera activated. T-34 comes around, and look at that.
We nailed it back.
Juicy turret side shots. I rolled exactly average on that guy, which was pretty awesome. The BL-10's maximum damage roll is something in the area of 950. I don't remember off the top of my head. Its minimum damage roll is 563. And so there's a huge spread of damage that this gun can deal. So what you'll find is that if you're driving anything mounting the BL-10, you have to count on the gun rolling poorly on damage, because if you count on the gun rolling average and you have a bad roll, oftentimes you'll be in a really, really bad situation. Alright, so right there, we polish off the GW Panther, and the match is over. So, quick look at post-battle results. You can see right here, that was first one of the day, so 2,700 experience doubled, 45,000 credits received, 3,300 profit. We did 3,761 damage and 238 detection damage. You don't get a lot of detection damage with the Object 704 because its view range is kind of poor, and usually you're going after targets that somebody else has already spotted for you. Excuse me. Now you can see we damaged quite a few tanks. Another common thing, you usually don't get to put 2 shots into the same target, because generally it gets detected, a whole bunch of people on your team shoot it, you shoot it once, it's got like one hit left in it, everybody else kills it. You don't get a lot of... You either tend to get kills in this thing, or you just get a really high damage score and no kills. You can see 3,761 damage. That puts me at top damage on my team, just ahead of the 4502A. He played a really good game to get top damage, or second damage, and top experience in that tank. It's got a pretty crappy gun, and really the only thing it has going for it is mediocre mobility. Actually, the IS-8 did a little more damage than he did, so he actually got third damage, but only by a tiny margin. So 7 shots fired, 7 hits, 7 penetrations, lots of damage. 1 hit received, potential damage of 490, but it ate my tracks, so no actual damage received. That was pretty fortunate. That was a good match for the Object. It was one where it was, in my opinion, sort of the ideal environment for the Object. Sort of closed in so that the enemy has to come onto your gun, and they're probably going to be doing it at medium range. You don't want to be using the Object at long range, because the BL-10 is just not accurate enough. You'll have trouble even hitting at long range. And if you're shooting at tier 10s, you'll have trouble hitting and you'll have trouble penning, because you do have to aim for weak points on tier 10s with standard AP ammo. So if you're firing at an E100 at 550 meters and you're trying to hit his lower plate, on a 1 in 5 chance you hit his lower plate, and on the other 4 chances you either miss or you hit his upper plate or turret, and it just bounces. So you don't want to be at long range with the Object, and you don't want to be at close range either, because its own armor is so poor, and its mobility is so poor. If you get to close range, just about everything but another TD can flank you. If that Ferdinand had been, say, a T-32, or, if that Ferdinand had been a Tier 8 heavy tank instead of a Tier 8 tank destroyer, I probably still would have killed him with my shot, but there's a high likelihood that he would have been able to do he probably would have been able to do a lot of damage to me pretty rapidly, because the 704 is just, mobility wise, it's just so bad that that if anyone gets next to you, you're screwed. God forbid that would have been a 1390. Just hang it up. You're dead. If your butt's not already up against something, you're dead. So yeah, that was a really ideal situation for the object, and the enemy team allowing me to just flank the crap out of them really made it easy. So that's what the object can do in a fortunate circumstance. So yeah, it's a good tank. It's a good tank destroyer. If I get a crazy game where I end up going 1-on-4 to win or something like that, or 1-on-4 to lose closely, I can put that up as an example of what the object can do in a not quite so ideal circumstance, because I've definitely had games like that. But for now, that's all for today. So Captain Dorja signing off. Just remember, you can never have enough big guns.